Seb, it's always good to see you. This is the first time I think we've had you back since you are now Deputy Assistant to the President again and Senior Director for Counterintelligence. So I'm excited.
Counterterrorism, get it right, Spicer. Get it right. Counterterrorism, honestly. The idea of having you on the board of a military institute. Oh, sorry. Carry on, Spicer.
No, that was a test, and you passed. Just want to make sure you knew your own title. Look, I know you're probably going to have gotten sick of this, but I just want to, you of all people, everyone in this town is speculating about Signal and this and that, and this is your wheelhouse. You're over there. Just walk us through, what has been the week like? Is this a lot of people saying, I know from the outside, everybody throwing around terms like classified, secret, war plans, who have no clue what those words actually mean. And so I just want to know from the inside, how has it been for you guys?
Well, it's just weird because when there was actually classified material being transmitted on unsecure networks hundreds of times, or being stored illegally in a degraded cardboard Zappos boxes in a garage by first Hillary Clinton and then Senator Joe Biden. It's weird. I don't remember the 3,000-word pieces by Mr. Goldberg about those instances. So, as our good friend Chris Plant says, I think it's become a mainstay of Washington, D.C. If it weren't for double standards, the left wouldn't have any standards at all. I'm just going to what's it like? It's irrelevant to me because we're killing jihadis every single day. The president has brought back American leadership. Everybody wants to be his friend who understands what he's doing. We've secured the border, illegals down 98%, NATO revitalized, the Secretary General in the Oval Office talking about how great it is to have the Commander-in-Chief back in the Oval Office behind the Resolute desk. So it's kind of like, the gnat, the little irritating mosquito that's buzzing around, but we couldn't care less and we get on with business.
I know, I always feel when doctors watch that show ER, they probably go nuts that they're that's not actually how you deal with a patient or whatever. When you guys read a lot of the coverage from the National Security Council, was it frustrating to be that's not actually how it works, or this is permitted? I mean, I know sometimes you guys get handcuffed by what you can and can't say because that's not really your job, is to put your nose to the grindstone and get stuff done. But there's got to be an internal water cooler level of, you've got to be kidding me. I can't believe that this is how they're referring stuff. Pete Hegseth tweeted out a couple days ago, this is for a war plan. It lacked time, location, names. I mean, this wasn't he said something, I won't use the S word that he used because this is a family show, but he used, the SH word and said, these are pretty SH plans if they don't include any of the, time, date, location, person, etc. And I think, again, this gets back to, as someone who's in that world, do you look at it and go, how sloppy is this as a reporter?
Sean, I know you're, a private citizen living life at large in the civilian world. We don't have these discussions because we're too busy. I spend literally 12 hours a day in a skiff, and I have about 2 hours, 3 hours with my wife of an evening. I don't have time for this garbage. People are complaining. I'm getting DMs on my Twitter feed of an evening. Hey, Gorka, why aren't you posting? Because yesterday we killed 30 jihadis in Somalia because I'm fixing the last 4 years of counterterrorism not actually happening in the Biden administration. So it's I'm sorry to give you this answer. I don't give a damn.
No, but that's why I want it. I want it because there's this perception of what you guys do, and you're there. And this is what I sometimes hate about the media, is they try to tell everyone what's happening, but I don't want to tell everyone when I can actually talk to a guy who's living it.
Yeah, there are no water cooler discussions because we don't have time for water cooler discussions. We're trying to keep up with the president. I walk out of the SCIF, the secure compartmented information facility, and I pick up my cell phone and I look at it and go, oh my gosh, what has the president done in the last 30 minutes? And I can't keep up with what he's doing because nobody can keep up with him, okay? So it's like there is no downtime to waste on the fake news of the Goldbergs of this world, the purveyors of the sore losers, the Russia hoax. And I mean, pick a crap piece of fake news from the last 9 years, and you will find this man's fingerprints on it. And look, if we want to talk about it for just 30 more seconds, I used to read The Atlantic 30 years ago. It's like The Economist. I used to read The Economist, foreign policy, foreign affairs, when they actually had some substance. Today, they just gutter press. It's the equivalent of the Daily News, but in a slightly glossier format. It's garbage. It is the purveyor of establishment. You must believe this because we are the establishment. Anti-MAGA, anti-America first. So I think, look, I said it in a tweet on what day was it? Tuesday, because our amazing guys at JSOC and SOCOM declassified another one of our counterterrorism surveillance videos. And I posted a video of jihadists getting turned into red mist. And I said, just 2 lines. And Mike Waltz came after me the next day and said, that was a cool tweet, Seb. And I said, the Atlantic is in the business of fake news, and we're in the business of killing jihadis.
I saw that. Yeah. I actually thought, by the way, that you're going to say we don't have those discussions because Elon cut all the water coolers.
There aren't any water coolers. You know the EEOB. There are no water coolers in the EEOB.
So I want to ask you one more question, then we're going to move on to your wheelhouse here. How's Mike Waltz holding up as a person? I think he's a good, decent human being, yes. Really smart. I having been through these things myself, Seb, you know that you were there. You and I served together in the first one. There are tough days, and just how is he holding up as a person?
I just came from a meeting where, on his direction at the beginning of the administration, he said, and this will appeal to you as somebody who has served in the uniform, who is now on one of the academy boards. He said, we have not served the veterans of the GWAT properly. They have been betrayed, not only with the surrender of Afghanistan, but by the friends, the SIVs, the interpreters that the last administration left behind, who had worked and fought with us shoulder to shoulder. And he said, Seb, I want you to do something about that. And so I convened a meeting today in the EEOB, in the beautiful diplomatic reception room, with GWAT veterans of the global war on terror, to listen to them and to tell them, we are here for you. The commander-in-chief is back. We want to hear what you think about how we left Afghanistan, what the threat to America is. And think of this, in the midst of this stupid, fake storm in a teacup, Mike Waltz takes time to leave the West Wing and come down and to sit with these veterans and talk to them about how they have been ill-served by Joe Biden, and America is back, and we will listen to you. We will recognize what you've done for this country. So Mike Waltz is a Green Beret, and he is doing his duty as the National Security Advisor. So, how's he doing? This is irrelevant to him. It's water off a duck's back.
All right, so let's get into your wheelhouse here a little. You and I talked about this before you're officially assumed the positions. I still think that there's a lot out there on TikTok, and there are attempts to use TikTok from the Chinese government as a means to spy on us, to control us, to spread messages. Where does that issue stand in the White House?
So I don't know where the issue of TikTok per se stands. It's a little bit out of my wheelhouse, and David Sachs and the AI guys and the special envoys should be guests on your show as well. I'll just quote somebody, a very wise person said this on another podcast maybe 6 months ago, and it kind of stuck in my head, because people talk about the danger for youth, but it's not just a danger to our youth. Think of this. The conventional wisdom with regards to your cell phone is it's your gateway to the world. It's your access point to the world. And this commentator, analyst, author, writer said, completely wrong. Your cell phone is the world's gateway to you. Bad people, bad actors, scam artists, communist regimes, Iran, terrorists, you name it. So, my life has changed immensely, as you're, aware. When you come back into government service, you are a target of certain inimical forces out there. But everyone, not just people who enjoy TikTok, everyone has to understand the cell phone is an evil in terms of the access it gives everyone to you, even when you don't know it. The fact that nobody reads the terms of service, when you click yes on TikTok, you are agreeing to your biometric data being downloaded and saved by the Chinese government. Maybe we want to think twice about that.
Well, and there was a story on Tuesday in the Wall Street Journal that says Trump takes tough approach to choking off China's access to U.S. tech. And I'll read you just the headline. It said the U.S. on Tuesday added dozens of Chinese companies to a trade blacklist over national security concerns. American businesses seeking to sell technologies to the companies will need approval from the government. I mean, this to me is obviously, I think sometimes we forget. Everybody, when I talk to someone about this, they're like, oh, no one cares about me, right? They might care about you because you're public, or Seb Gorka because he's in the White House. But I think for the average person, they just don't understand or believe that China cares about infiltrating them. And that ties into exactly what you're saying.
Oh, utterly. And utterly. Look, and I say this fully cognizant of the position I now hold. And I said this 7 years ago, and I believe it as well. I mean, I came into the administration originally, and especially this time, with one mission set, what I've been doing for a quarter of a century, which is counterterrorism, teaching the military, understanding the strategy of groups like AQ and ISIS and so forth. But once I have a PDB briefer, so every morning I get a version of the president's daily intelligence briefing because I'm a senior director. And as soon as you get those clearances, and as soon as you start listening to the actual ground truth, the intercepts, what we know about enemy actors, I realized almost instantly, I realized the number one strategic threat to America is China, without a doubt. We're going to deal with AQ. We're going to deal with ISIS, which we did. We'll deal with the Houthis right now. We'll even deal with Iran, North Korea, and Russia. We can deal with all of these. There is one strategic level peer threat to America, and it is China. And this isn't classified. You can read their intent. It is the One Belt, One Road Global Initiative, their book, Unrestricted Warfare, written by two senior PLA colonels, that says by the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Revolution for 2048, there will be one superpower in the world. It will be Communist China, and every other nation will be defeated, or a satrapy, tributary nation that is, at the feet of Communist China. That's not classified. That's out there. So yeah, and one of the most powerful things they have on their side, which is pure Sun Tzu, is there's no dichotomy between peace and war. In the West, we have this idea that, we're at peace. And then suddenly you go to war. Hitler invades Poland. And then the war ends on the deck of the USS Missouri, and we have peace treaties signed. The Asian Sun Tzu way of thinking of war is always happening. And right now, whether it's in the economic sphere, the financial sphere, why is the president always talking about rare earth minerals? Because China is trying to corner the market globally, especially in Central Asia, especially in Africa, on rare earth minerals. Why? Because your stinking phone is full of rare earth minerals. Your Tesla is full of rare earth minerals. If you control power generation, power storage, and processor chips in the 21st century, you kind of got geopolitics sewn up. So think twice about every app you download. Actually read the terms of service and understand we are in a non-kinetic, non-shooting war right now with the biggest communist regime in the world, and that's the People's Republic of China.
It might have even been you. I can't remember, but I got the Michael Pillsbury book a couple months ago, and I've started to read that. And it is an eye opener in terms of not just the threat they pose, but just how poorly our side has read the threat that they pose.
We think, I remember this, what was it, 9 years ago, 8 years ago, when you read that Google is opening its brand new artificial intelligence lab, and they're doing it in China, and you do a little bit of research, and you find out any foreign company that owns or begins a business in China, it is man. And if you don't, and I'm sure your viewers will not believe it, that's okay. Look it up. A foreign entity doing business in China is not allowed to do business in China unless you first declare any IP, any intellectual property you are using as part of that business must be declared to the state of China. It's like, you don't own any of it. You don't own any of the stuff you're developing. And I have to say, God bless. President Trump knew this. I mean, we'll go watch the Oprah interviews from 30 years ago. He was talking about the threat of China, 30 years ago. But thanks to the president, thanks to the likes of Peter Navarro and others, I think we're starting to wake up. And I think, even parents who aren't into politics are waking up to, hey, what exactly is my child doing on their phone, and what is that TikTok thing? We need to take this very seriously, and I'm super excited. I don't know anything about it because I'm a Luddite, but to have the likes of Mr. Sachs walking around, to bump into Elon with regularity in the White House, that makes me feel a little bit better, because those are the private public kind of partnerships. I think if we're going to be the greatest power on earth and remain there, we have to be at the forefront. This is the moonshot, right? I know Elon wants to go to Mars, but the moonshot right now, the Kennedy Canaveral project, is artificial intelligence, quantum, AI, all of that stuff.
Just out of curiosity, how often do you bump into Elon Musk walking down the hall?
Well, the trouble is, I don't know if I should say this publicly, but
yes,
he kind of, look, the Oval Office is the Oval Office. It is the most incredible room in the world, right? I mean, it's the helm of the commander-in-chief. I have a soft spot in my place for another part of the White House campus, and that's the Secretary of War Suite. And the Secretary of War, I mean, you literally you step into a museum. Before we had the Department of Defense, the Eisenhower Executive Building was the Defense Department, the State Department, and hopefully we can shrink all of government back down into the EEOB. But Elon likes it too. And so, he's taking it over temporarily as his headquarters.
Oh, no way. That's where he is.
Yeah, he has an office in the West Wing, but he's also, he likes the Secretary of War Suite as much as I do. And so when I'm walking in and out of the Eisenhower building, I bump into him all the time. The cutest thing, I'll tell you two stories. So first thing is I get into the elevator going to my skiff, and there's a little kid with a grown woman who must be the babysitter. And I look at the kid like a, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and I say, I recognize that camel hair coat. And I realized it was X from the day before when he was riding on Daddy's shoulders in the Oval. And I said in front of the babysitter, I said, hi, I know who you are. And he did the classic little, don't look at me, I'm not famous. And kind of embarrassed. It was so cute to bump into X in the elevator in the White House. And then the other story, which is just as fun. And these are the things that, you pepper into your autobiographies. I'm coming out of the Eisenhower building down those beautiful Navy steps, this amazing, neoclassicist building entrance. And Mr. Musk is coming down the stairs behind me, and I just couldn't resist. You know me. I say, Mr. Musk, do you mind if I do the awful thing? Do you mind if we do a selfie? And we do a selfie, and then he recognizes me, and he says, you're the terrorism guy, aren't you? And I said, yes, sir. And so he just starts chatting with me on West Executive Boulevard and says, so what's the greatest threat to America, Mr. Terrorism? And I said, oh, that's easy. The fact that the last president had the border open for 4 years, and we don't know who he let in and how many terrorists he let in. And then as I'm going into the West Wing, I shouted to him, but don't worry. And he says, what do you mean, don't worry? And I said, we've got Tom Homan on the case. And he shouts back at me, Tom, I love that guy, straight out of Central Casting. I mean, these are the things that spice up your day, Sean.
Did X look at you, by the way, and say, I know you, you're the terrorism guy?
X had no idea who he was, just a strange guy with a strange accent.
Right.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.